Welcome to Dance to Heal. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how dance and movement can bring healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that movement was vital to my recovery. I created Dance to Heal Wellness and also authored the best-selling book, Outside in Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new techniques to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. Born in Uganda, East Africa, to an African father and American mother, Dr. Zelda Okia dedicates her coaching to helping her clients transition from feeling overwhelmed and underappreciated to leading balanced, healthy lifestyles. She emphasizes sustainable weight loss, mental energy, and fitness through transformative self-care, believing firmly that one cannot pour water from an empty cup. So without further ado, I am so excited to have Miss Zelda here today. Audience, you're in for a treat. Thank you for coming today.
Wow, thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you for inviting me. I am so excited for our time together.
And I do need to correct myself. This is Dr. Zelda. Now, we know each other through PQ Mental Fitness Training. We're both coaches. And I would just love to hear how you've married one of your areas of expertise with the PQ training, Zelda.
Yeah, so I have my first client going through, and I'm actually having her go through the PQ, the foundations, the 6 weeks, because a lot of overeating is very much driven by emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was also sharing that too, that emotions do affect her in terms of decision making, in terms of the foods that she eats, and just feeling stressed at her job. My heart, my passion is for people in healthcare. So I'm a doctor, medical examiner, and there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress involved in that line of work, and a lot of really suppressing your emotions. I mean, sometimes it's not the best time to express emotions, obviously, and you're the professional, right? So you have to present this front to be the strong one for the family, if they're just had a tragedy or, had a really bad diagnosis, then the doctor has to kind of maintain a level head and continue to guide the patient or the client through as they process what just happened. But what can happen, unfortunately, is that role you become comfortable. As with everything, our brain seeks to become comfortable and to do things with ease. And so it becomes kind of a natural go-to when as the individual, when you have your own uncomfortable situations that you have to deal with, to just kind of shut everything down. And that can make it can make relationships difficult. But also then when you're just so used to suppressing emotions, some people eat those emotions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that can show up as late night eating or binge eating. And then the pattern just continues itself. So what I like about the PQ and the positive intelligence is getting to the root cause. What is really driving the decisions to eat the foods that we know are not working for our bodies. So I think this is really good to just kind of see how much of that maybe emotional eating or eating or overeating is driven by someone's emotional state, and how learning to manage emotions, increasing the mental capacity to handle situations, does show up on someone's waistline.
Yes, and I love this awareness that, or at least bring into awareness, right, to our forefront, is that oftentimes eating is self-soothing.
Oh yeah.
It's so soothing. I wanted to hear your take on this new discovery I've made. And I've spoken to my audience about it before, but I want to ask you because you kind of know people's deep, dark secrets through their body stories after they've passed because of your profession. However, I've noticed one thing really interesting. I used to regard the scale as one of my judges. You would understand more of this audience when you start to do training with either Zelda or myself or anybody else in our pod. We would invite you to reach out to us about this in the mental fitness realm that we're working in. Either way, I used to regard my climbing weight, right, was me me neglecting myself. I made poor choices again. I think subconsciously was equating it with you don't deserve to be thin, things like that. And I recently made a shift where I had gone to an event where I did not feel safe, and it was with a business mentor. And I came home and I had gained about 9 pounds on the scale. And I couldn't figure it out because I didn't overeat at this event. And then after was home and feeling safer and doing a lot of processing, I dropped that weight within 3 days.
Mm.
And I went, whoa. Was my weight gain my body's way of telling me I wasn't feeling safe?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, that's really interesting. Um, I mean, I would like to pair that with knowing that you felt unsafe. You were in an unfamiliar environment, and you, I guess my question is, were you eating differently, or do you feel like you may have eaten in reaction to that?
Yes.
And the only reason I say that is because often if you're eating out, you might be eating prepared foods or processed foods, which have a lot of sodium, salt.
Mhm.
And so the excess weight gain most likely was water weight,
Mm.
but that could have been related to whatever you were eating, might have been had more salt in it. So you were eating more salt than what you normally do. And that could also have played a role in the weight gain. But it's interesting that you raised that question because I'm reading a book called Virgin Diet, and I don't know if she brought this up, but there have been people have been talking about this. I don't know if there are any scientific, double blind studies on it, how your frame of mind and, mental state, how that affects the way that your body digests and processes food.
Mm.
And especially as we're thinking about food allergies too,
Mhm.
and the immune system, and how
Mhm.
stress can kind of wreak havoc on the immune system. The release of cortisol can raise blood sugar, make it difficult for diabetics to manage or monitor their blood glucose levels.
Mhm.
So that is an interesting question, and I don't know how we could actually test that, but it is an interesting thing to see, does our body physiologically digest and manage food differently based on our mental state?
Yeah, yeah. I'm really glad I brought this up because oftentimes people want some type of scientific testing to clarify if it's a valid
Yeah.
discovery, right? All I
Yeah.
know is I weighed myself before I visited my mother and came home, and it's not that my parents don't make me a lot of food. This particular visit, because my husband was with us and he's a strict vegan. So
Okay.
they actually cooked really clean. Does that make sense? Because
Mhm, mhm.
my husband is gluten-free, vegan, light oil. And so we were together. We didn't overeat. We kept really
Okay.
close to our at-home diet. And I only gained like 1 or 2 pounds, which I know was from the stress of my mother. I mean,
Mhm.
my mom loves me, but she knows how to push all my buttons. She's gonna get them in there when I'm there for a few days. And again, I went right back to my pre-visit weight a few days
Okay.
later. You know, there is definitely a stress to traveling too.
Hmm.
And I'm in a higher altitude, that makes a difference when I
Okay.
change altitudes. However, I've noticed that when I am stringent on my water intake, like I'm really good at it, I have noticed that my weight will drop if I also avoid my comfort eating.
Yeah.
I'll
And
start to
many
drop weight.
times
Yeah.
I've said like thirst. Many times thirst can feel like hunger. And I noticed that too, like, especially when it's a day at work and I've been at the autopsy table, I know I haven't drank or drunk
Mhm.
as much water as I normally would. Then I've noticed I do tend to be more hungry at the end of the day. And then when I come home, sometimes I'll notice myself eating more and I'm like, uh-oh, Zelda, you didn't drink as much water today. So
Yeah.
definitely water can feel like hunger.
The need for
Sure.
water, right? The thirst.
Yeah, the
And I
need
mean,
for
yeah.
water.
I mean, I often also tell my clients, if you're thirsty, your body's already been screaming that it needed water, right? Oftentimes, it's now gone to the most extreme way to get your attention. If you
Yeah.
feel thirsty, it's already been asking for hours for water.
Yeah, that's why, it's interesting. My husband and I, we have a podcast called Simple Weight Loss. Wait. I think it's called Simple Weight Loss 411. But now I'm terrible. But I'll give you the actual
Yeah.
name of it. But we talk about how things can be simple, and I want to say simple and easy when you follow a proven path. Now, the easy part, because it's so simple, it's easy to do. It's easy not to do also. But there really is a system. And if we can just stick to the system, I said diets work, but many times we give up on it. And so I'm using that same idea with my business, in terms of just following a system, putting it on the schedule, when I'm going to do my outreach,
Hmm.
and really like following that. And the same thing with food, trying to eat the same time every day,
Yes.
I eat the same thing every day.
Me too. Me too.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Now some
I actually
people
get really
can't.
addicted to it. Some people, I think it's also related to human design. I look at that and
Yeah.
blood types. Certain
Hmm.
people have different needs, right, with eating.
Okay.
But for
Yeah.
me, I love having my Trader Joe's gluten-free English muffin with my vegan Vio Life butter and my
Okay.
egg white omelet that I make in my little egg pan, and that's my breakfast. And sometimes I have a little jelly on the other half of the English muffin every
Okay.
morning. I'm like totally happy with that.
Okay.
I really don't want
Okay.
anything else. Like we went away on a cruise, Zelda, and all I wanted to eat was my little egg muffin, and I couldn't have it because they had dry, crusty, gluten-free bread. I
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So that's a blessing for me. I can eat the same thing over and over
Mhm,
again. But I know that some people like the variety. But
mhm.
I said, can you maybe have like three staples?
Yeah.
Or at least, maybe you don't want to eat the certain thing Mondays. Maybe you want to eat Friday's meal on
Yeah.
Monday.
Hmm.
But just to cut down on all that decision fatigue, I think Steve Jobs always wore the same outfit. I think President Obama only had like a blue suit, a gray suit, and a black suit or something. So the less that we have to spend mental energy on those mundane things, then that leaves us more energy to boost up our willpower. Because it's like every decision takes a little bite out of your willpower.
And your energy level.
And yeah, and your energy level. So definitely the more that you can keep it up. And one of that is not, spending a lot of time on these decisions that take time. But if you already kind of have an idea of what it's already been made, the decision's already made for you, you don't have to spend any time on it.
I also want to invite the audience to read this book that I'm with a business mentoring group, and
Okay.
our book club book this month is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And the
Oh, okay.
whole
I've heard of it. I've never read it.
I love just the introduction. I haven't gone beyond that. This book is due to be read by next week, so I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay.
I what I love is the author introduces this prospect that we have happiness and satisfaction thresholds that when we get to,
Mm.
we sometimes, oftentimes, are uncomfortable. We don't think we deserve that much happiness. And then
Oh,
we'll figure out a way to release the stress of too much happiness in our lives. Like we don't deserve to be happy. So we'll come up with something else to be unhappy or self sabotage. I
okay.
can say for sure the few times when I've kept with my activity, I teach online cardio dance classes. So I'm getting my cardio fitness. I really hydrate well. I'm staying strict with my eating in a joyful way. I'm getting my
Okay.
9 hours of sleep. I'm getting all my water, and I'll see my weight start to drop to a level that I want to get it to before I start muscle building because I want to know
Okay.
the difference, right? And I will feel fear when I start to see that weight drop 3 days in a row because I weigh myself first thing in the morning. I literally can almost predict by the fourth or fifth day, I will stay up late that night and binge food because I when I stay up too late, I start getting hunger pains from my childhood that I can't feed enough.
Mm. Mm.
I'm being really
Yeah.
transparent, and I notice that I it just correlates with what Gay Hendricks was saying about that happiness threshold. Like
Mm-hmm,
it feels
mm-hmm,
good, feels good, feels good. Oh, this is too good. This is
mm.
too good. I can't continue. What if the other shoe drops? There's no shoe to drop, but I'm gonna manifest a shoe to drop.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I do the exact same thing. So I think that's where I really like the PQ again, because we all are going to reach those thresholds, like weight. So you mentioned weight. I remember reading a book, Hunger,
Mhm.
and she was talking about how she knew she'd lost the weight, and she could tell by when she would strap herself in her seatbelt that it was so loose, but it was like she still saw herself as overweight. Like her mind hadn't caught up with that reality. And so you can see how somebody could, because it creates that cognitive dissonance. It's like, wait, I'm not supposed to be, right? I'm not supposed to be. I said one of the things that helped me was that I had been thin for most of my life.
Mhm.
So I already had a thin identity. I knew how to operate as a thin person in the world.
Mm,
And so I think somebody who's been overweight for most of their life, that may be a bigger challenge to actually learn to operate thin. And I think with my entrepreneur journey, I've always had, my past has always been so negative. So I think I do self-sabotage, or I'm afraid. There's so many layers,
it's so
and it's deep. The earlier the injury, the slower. Some people can process really quickly, or they gain awareness and they immediately change. But I think other people, it takes time. I mean, I certified as a coach in like 2018, 2019. And I'm like, man, why is this taking so long? But I'm coming to terms with it's just going to take as long as it takes. And I'm changing. I have to remind myself, I have to tell myself that I am changing, and that it's not like, I don't know if you know the book, the Gap and the Gain. I could still look at how far I have yet to go, which is the gap, or I can look at how far I've come, which is the gain. And so PQ really reminds you of that, and it helps to keep you in the present moment, which is all we have anyway. The past is an illusion, the future is an illusion. All we have is now. And so deciding, how do I want to live now, today,
yes.
so that I will get to that future self that I want to be, and not live into the past self.
That's
I think that's another thing too, is helping our clients to not relive a past paradigm that's basically been controlling, our lives up to this point. Yeah.
that's a big one. That's a big
Mhm.
one, and I want to speak on the beginning part of it because I grew up never feeling like I was thin enough. And in all my pictures, I'm tiny. I'm tiny, Zelda. Audience, I was tiny. Even up to when I first got married, I remember looking down and thinking, oh, wow, why do I have a belly? I didn't have a belly. Like now I
Mm,
look at the pictures, I didn't have one, you
okay.
know? And even now, I post surgery a year later, like 14 months later, I still have body dysmorphia. When I look in the mirror, sometimes I don't perceive my present self. I see myself as in the past. Before my
Mm,
surgeries or right after my surgeries, when I had a lot of the post surgical edema. And
okay.
it's been really interesting. I've had conversations with many people that some of that body dysmorphia is really in my brain that I have to fix and reset. And
Mm,
my son, who is in he's been in two affluent ballet training programs,
okay.
and they had noticed that the mirrors were warped in the studios,
Mm,
so that
wow.
most of the females who are doing ballet will automatically see themselves distorted in the mirror as wider than they really were.
And that was intentional or?
It's just bizarre that every one of those mirrors were distorted. Does that make sense, Zelda?
Well, it makes me wonder too with ballet, maybe giving the dancers the impression that they're heavier than they actually are
I
will promote more of this,
Yeah.
disordered eating or,
Yeah, and there's a lot of integral problematic training things that they're just
yeah.
starting to take apart right now. So I'm just saying this point in that when you were talking about being able to navigate the world has a certain size, whether you are that now or in the future, being aware of it has to correlate with your self perception versus a distortion externally from you that you can't trust. You have to do a little reality check with people you trust,
Yeah.
because
Sure.
sometimes you want to make sure you're with someone that is equipped to deal with what you're going through. That's a key
Mhm.
thing. Right?
Absolutely.
Because I remember when I was doing dancing, I love dance as a way of lighting up every part of the brain. That's really key. That's why that's
Mhm.
one of my modalities, right? Most of the time when we're
Yeah.
stuck in some type of trauma response, parts of your brain will shut off so you can get to safety. They're not going to have empathy, right? There's no exploration of life. It's a survival part of your brain lights up and gets you to safety. Or
Right.
if we can't leave, we're in freeze response. For me, it was that weekend, Zelda, where I couldn't get away. I was stuck in this place. I was a minority presenting person. It was mostly white location.
Mhm.
There was no lift, and I didn't really trust that I would be safe in a taxi. Now,
Okay.
the person who was hosting it was like, oh, no, we don't lock our doors here. However, this person saying that was white in the majority of the neighborhood. So, of
Okay.
course, they felt safe. I didn't feel
Mm.
safe.
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
was stuck in this freeze response. So, I just wanted to be really asking the audience when you're not feeling safe or when you want to do exploratory type of growth, make sure you're with someone that can handle the repercussions of it. Yeah.
Mm.
Because when I first started dancing, like I was saying, I was like crying because I was releasing emotions that were
Mm.
stored in my core region. Nobody knew what to do with me when I was crying.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I always thought that artists had it made, like because artists can focus. When we do the PQ, our brain likes to focus on one thing. It calms the nervous system. And with dance, with movement, you're focusing on the movement of your arm. And so that focus on the body is so powerful. And so I always just figured that artists had the best lives, But then I remember reading that book, did dancing on my grave. I don't know if you read that one. That was by a ballerina. Or hearing about Picasso, or cut was he the one that no
Yeah.
Van Gogh who cut off his ear?
Yeah. Yeah.
And chefs. I mean, again, I always thought of chefs as like these artists who have this great life and beautiful. And I've heard they have some of the highest rates of drug and alcohol that
Yeah, isn't that so funny, right? Because we
Yeah.
only know our own backyards and our own stressors. And I think it's really interesting that actually what really connects every one of us is our humanness of feeling emotions. We may not have a great, we may not be super honest, right? Because we all have this mask,
Yes,
right? I
yes.
mean, like people looking at me now, especially like from your bio, right? They wouldn't believe that we went through those things. And we did. We did. It was horrifying going through it. We're out on the other end of it.
Hmm,
And
hmm.
that's why we can speak on these things. We truly
Exactly.
speak on it. And like very little things phase me now with my clients when they bring
Yeah.
up
Right.
we've gone through, right? Because we've already been in the pit and pulled ourselves
Yeah.
out. And that's kind of key. You wanna always find someone that you intuitively feel safe with. Again, intuitive, like truly, not the surface someone's fooled you
Right,
into,
right.
a sense of safety when there really is no safety.
And you're really right. It's good to have that other perspective because, I see a lot of suicides at my work.
Mhm.
And many times if they leave us a note, many people don't even leave a note, which is
Wow.
just devastating for the family because everybody's wondering what could I have done,
Yeah.
But when they leave a note and some of the things, you're like, man, you had your whole life ahead of you, especially with young people too, and it's like, wow. But again, you're not inside of their body. But sometimes, like you're right, our body is telling us things or our brain is telling us things. It's not true. And yet we believe it and then we act on it and then we suffer the consequences of that. So I said, it is nice to have somebody you can talk to when your brain's just not thinking straight. We've all been hijacked. Emotions. You get involved with somebody and you just think this is the one, and your friends are like, but then you act on it, and then the future reveals itself, and you're like, why didn't I listen to them? So I agree. It's definitely helpful sometimes to have somebody pull you off that ledge, literally and figuratively, and to have a really good friend like that. And not everybody has that. I recognize that. I mean, that's something that is a gift, and it can be cultivated. Obviously, it can be cultivated, but it requires vulnerability again. And you may not be in that position to be that vulnerable with anyone. So,
We're highly encouraging audience that you are. You can reach Zelda. Where can they find you? What's your website?
yes, it's zeldaokia.com. So www.zeldaokia or http zeldaokia.com. It's
So we're gonna spell this for you for my audio clients. Okay, so it's ZELDA
okay.
OKIA.com.
I
And
say
then you
Zelda like the video game and then like the Nokia phone, but without the N.
So Zelda Okia, when you go to that website, there'll be a booking link. No
Yeah.
obligation. Have a short conversation with Zelda, okay? And make sure that you also go to danceandheal.com, get access to my movement and stretching classes that will pop you into my newsletters and my emails. You can also find me at jennyccohen.com. We're here for you.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, sometimes the people that know you don't want you to change. They're
Mm,
not aware of why you're shifting to your own best, what's going to serve you.
yeah.
And you may need a non biased listening person to help you talk through the shift you want to go in. All right.
Mm,
Because again, my mom and my dad, they love me. And also my friends love me. They're not super happy when I learn boundaries, really firm boundaries.
mm.
and you need some neutral people to help you figure out what those are. Remember, Zelda and myself and other people who do the PQ training, our job is not to help you formulate what you want. Our job is to help you get to where you want to go.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yes, that is so true.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
But you have to know, like you have to start with knowing what you want.
yes, yes. And also knowing what you don't want.
Yes.
Even though here, and here's the irony, because we work with the subconscious, folks, just be aware, our subconscious does not record knots and
Mm,
negatives. So you say, I don't want pain. Your subconscious hears, oh, I want pain. All right, well, how can I get it for them?
mm,
It's the free phrasing for yourself. I want more joy.
yeah.
You know, I want more laughter in my life.
Yeah.
I want more recognition of my worth from the people around me.
Because you're right. It's so fun. It's interesting because we always say, man, I didn't want that. I don't want that. But yet we create that, what we don't want. So, and it's a mindset shift for me too, like really asking myself, what do I want? And I'm afraid. Sometimes it scares me to think that I can have what I want. And that's been an eye-opening thing too. Like, I think it comes up to that worthiness. Am I worthy to have that? You know, when I was always told, no, you can't have that. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. It's been really interesting, right? And here's the
Mhm.
thing, what's always helped me to shift out of the, am I worthy to have that? It's more for me, I'm resetting my reward to mean something else. For example, I've opened up group membership and also one-on-one coaching clients, and my app is launched. And I used to be like, oh, am I good enough to do that? It was never that. It was, okay, my sole purpose is to get as many people dancing and moving and healing as possible. So
Okay.
when I get the response and people are signing up and I'm signing on clients who are, their investment to work with me is in the 5 digits, right?
Mhm.
That tells me when the numbers climb, it's not I move away from the am I worthy? I move into, oh, this is signs I'm making a difference in the world.
Mm, mm,
That's directly correlation. I have an energy worker that tells me the money that comes into your account is the world's thank you to you for doing your
mm,
work, for
mm.
making a difference in the world.
For showing up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I've done so many things for free.
Mhm.
And actually, I've gotten less of an impact than when I actually started charging for it. Because the
Mm.
people around me didn't value it when it was free.
Yeah. I've definitely seen that too. Yeah. When people don't make that investment, that's very telling for my side as a coach and for their side too. Like asking and charging is part of the coaching process
On both sides,
on both sides.
right? I was
Yes.
shocked at my first $7,000 client. I was like, whoa, you want to pay me that? That's amazing. you know, I was like, this is cool. Yeah. And then there was fear. And then I got over the fear and went, well, this is just on par with the value that I've always provided. And now I know this person is super dedicated to their change.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
the key because I was doing a lot of $500 clients, and some of
Mhm.
them were really, really committed. And
Mhm.
most of them, they didn't really value what I had to offer.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking today about a camel's hump. Don't even ask me why. I was thinking that I like the analogy because sometimes you're at the top of the hump, but then be prepared because the next one is going down the hump.
Mhm.
And then sometimes you're at the bottom of the hump, but then you're on the journey up. So it's kind of like that same thing, like we never arrive, but it's an ongoing journey. And we just get to different places, maybe different milestones. But as soon as we reach that milestone, we're on to the next one.
Oh, I
So
love
it's like enjoying the journey, enjoying every step of the way, but still looking for that next challenge.
Yeah, and interspersed with rest is okay, folks, okay? Yeah, we
Absolutely.
just want to remind you, we're not saying always be on the treadmill. We're just saying put your rest where you need it. And like for a lot of people, rest is a blasphemy. They don't even want to recognize the word. And
Yeah,
it's important. It's really
it's
essential that we
very.
do that,
Oh
right?
yeah, and lack of sleep, deprivation has been associated with overweight. I mean, when you're awake longer, you eat more.
For
So
sure.
obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure. And I don't know if people really understand the implications because it doesn't affect you right away. Like if you don't get enough sleep one day, maybe 2 days, you might feel a little bit groggy. But when it's chronic and it's a habit, it becomes a habit, you don't realize how your body is changing and adapting. And many times those changes are on the inside. The same thing with overweight. Like we're like that lobster getting cooked. If we're not monitoring and measuring our weight or the waist circumference, those things creep up on you. And it's like maybe you gain 1 pound or 2 pounds a year, but then over the course of 10 years, there could be 20 pounds. Then you look and you're like, where did all that weight come from? So it's like it's important to keep us some sort of measure. And like you said, you get on the scale every day. I get on the scale every day. My husband, it's his belt buckle, like he wants to keep it at that particular buckle. And once it starts to go up, oh, gotta, do something. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
Mhm.
because you're a medical examiner, Zelda, you're she's the doctor that looks and sees all your body's stories when we're no longer here, right? Our soul is gone. And so
Mhm.
she's talking to us from plain truth, folks. Like, really hear that. And again, we want to reiterate something. This is not an episode about body shaming. We're just trying to help you understand
Right.
that you want to still listen to your body, even if your mind will occasionally allow the slip of that midnight snack, right? Just
Mhm.
things
Mhm.
accumulative. You want to address the buildup of stress in your life. That's
Yeah.
all we're saying. We've talked about so many topics. Please feel free, audience, to come back and watch this one again. Zelda has been giving us so many nuggets. I went off on a couple of tangents. I know you like those. You'll come back for that again. Remember, you can go and book your complimentary conversation with Dr. Zelda at Zelda, Zelda, Okia, Okia.com. That link will be there. Make sure to grab it. She's not going to charge you like a regular doctor's visit. Expensive, right? She's going to give you that one-on-one time with her free of charge so you can kind of figure out where you can go. And then you're going to go to danceandheal.com, get my class, get booked on my booking link because, every month I've been doing my little webinars around dance. You can get access to that. Dr. Zelda, thank you so much for coming today. You're going to have to come back. We have to continue the conversation.
Yes, yes, I would love to come back. Thank you so much. I appreciate this. Can I just leave with one little nugget that I remember I was taking classes, ballroom dance classes at Fred Astaire.
Ooh.
And, the dancers are all dressed up and you feel so elegant. And I loved my instructor. And one time I came early and I saw him in the back of the building in his jeans and a t-shirt, smoking a cigarette. And the dream was crushed. So yes, going back, we are all human.
We are all human. Exactly. I love that. I love that. It's so
But I
funny.
also love how our brains can create very elaborate fantasies or images or imagination. And that's a beautiful thing too.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that. So we want you to imagine working with the both of us in whatever capacity you're ready for. Come back to this recording. Make sure you subscribe and like, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Dance to Heal with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of recovery through movement and learn more ways that you can move your body. To work with me and continue your journey, visit OutsideInRecovery.com. Are you ready to move?